Hello, hello.
Blimey,
No,
it's
you
it's
can't see me.
it's Bonzo. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. How are you, sir?
Oh, well, a bit narcoleptic at the moment, actually. Don't worry, it's not anything to do with me having been at the mulled wine since 8 o'clock in the morning, or me being otherwise unwell. No, it's because I've got a malfunctioning smoke alarm that's actually powered by, unlike your ordinary smoke alarm, it's actually mains powered, so I can't stop it. So all it does is go um, every once in a while just to wake me up and give me sleep deprivation.
Have you checked that there isn't a blaze going on in your basement or something? Have you gone
No,
that
no,
far?
no, no,
No.
no. There's no. Well, it would have had to be keeping on for at least sort of 2 or 3 days. No, no. It just sits there going, making bleeping noises and keeping everyone awake, which is yeah,
How
great.
darn annoying. But is the Tynwald house going to be ablaze? Has Alf got the team to put the fire out? Who knows? Because it's a big day tomorrow, isn't it? It's the day of judgment, isn't it? Aren't we going to be talking Liverpool landing stage and more? Or are we?
Oh well. Oh, I think there's going to be a lot of talking about Liverpool landing stage, and I think certainly the amount of goodwill to all people will be pretty lacking. I think when it comes to talking about that.
Well, you must admit, I look at Alf, and so far, so good. So far, we're into nearly 100 days. So, what is that, like 3 months? So, your local MHK has coined in 15 grand already. So, we've had, value for money somewhere. But he has got himself surrounded with a good team. I mean, let's just take me through Coman and your viewpoint of who he's got with him. 'Cause
Right.
I like him. I like him.
Well, Chairman Alf, by accident, I think, rather than design, but no, but by happy accident, has actually got some people around in Comin who have a clue what they're doing and actually have a clue of what they want to do and how to go about it, which is a bit of a departure from Manx politics, as I'm sure you agree. So, starting with the Deputy CM. Yes, we now have a Deputy Chief Minister, actually formally titled as a Deputy Chief Minister, who is also the Minister for Department of Justice and Home Affairs. And so looks after, as part of things, not only Home Affairs and police and prisons and the legal system, but also relations with the UK, because that's done through the sponsoring department, Ministry of Justice.
And she is a class act, isn't she? She is the head girl.
And she is Jane Paul Wilson, who would have made an excellent Chief Minister, but is making an excellent Deputy Chief Minister. And that's because her primary objective for being an MHK is reforming the Manx legal system. And, of course, she was behind the report in the last Tynwald, coming up with recommendations for that. And she knows it's going to be a hard slog. She knows it's going to occupy most of her time. And that's why she wanted to be, as far as I can see, to be the Minister of Home Affairs, and thought that the only way really to get her reforms through was to have a sort of democratic mandate and not do it from Legco. So she sought election, got it, and now she's got 4 years or so to actually try and reform the Manx legal system.
What a great attribute, because she'll outfox them all, won't she? She's so smart.
She is not a woman you'd want to play poker with. Lose his shirt in about 10 minutes.
But
I've spoken.
Yeah.
I've spoken to people because, of course, she was at Ballacameen, and I've spoken to a couple of people who taught her, and she says that, should I say, they say that she is the best person they've ever taught, and I can believe that. She's already made quite a good impression unusually from ex-politicians. A very good impression with the other politicians on the British Irish Council, and that's producing a lot of progress and a lot more sort of high-level contacts, especially with UK, and that's helped with Daphne Kane's work in COP26, talking to the relevant ministers in UK government and others regarding climate action. So there's the potential already for things to start getting moving, and they are starting to get moving. But of course, we're still in the island plan phase, what used to, of course, be the programme for government, and is now at the moment the island plan, which some people have said, oh, don't worry about the lack of detail in it at the moment. It's the beta version of the plan. Well, from what I can see, it's the alpha it's not even the alpha version of the plan. It's just various happy wishes, Mom and Bonag kind of things, with insert policy here for the most of it. There were one or two things which actually are, we're going to do this, but the rest of it, it's absolutely vague, and I can't think that it's going to be any less vague. But in one sense, that's good, because that means that the people who actually know what they're doing can actually then press on, rather than having to implement the wishes of Chairman Alf.
Well, let us see. We're coming up to it'll be 100 days soon, and I think that really needs to have the pathway laid out. But just remember, I mean, we've got the likes of, say, Tim Krukol, who is he a gunslinger? He was an MLC, and he thought, this isn't good enough, I'm going to have another crack at the title. He got voted in by our friends out in the West, who booted out you-know-who, and he's installed in this. It has been the poison chalice for years and years and years, and he's got quite a lot on his plate at the moment, but he did. What can I say? Was it coincidental that we had the head civil servant in the DOI has marched off? Is he really shaking the tree?
Well, I think it was a question of somebody has to be found to be beheaded and encourage the others. So, where's going to be him? That guy, Nick Black, who, in some senses, I don't think covered himself in glory, but I think in other senses found himself not able to make things happen because of other elements of the machine, which are much more like the sort of thing that we've been talking about. It seems like forever, mainly because it has been forever. Those people who really just don't have a grip.
Well, it's the fish rots from the head down, they say, but at least the Manx public have seen action, because there's no doubt about it. Anyone who is doing the doorsteps would be getting their ears chewed about all the usual DOI failings.
I think now, particularly with the landing stage up for discussion. This is where the honeymoon ends.
So come on, what's going to happen?
Tim Krukol, and this is where he's going to need a fair amount of armour plate.
So what will happen anyway? Well, are we going to be paying an extra 32 million quid for the porter cabin and a ramp? Because that's what it is. You look at Heysham. You look at Heysham. I know. That's what it is, isn't it? A porter cabin and a ramp.
What, at Heysham or Liverpool?
Oh, both.
Well, Heysham is more a porter cabin and a ramp, but we're not being asked to pay yet another 32 million for it, because the Liverpool landing stage, being moved from Pier Head, because of course they want their lovely great cruise ships there. We've of course been moved down the road a bit, about 400 metres closer to the sea. Closer to the mouth of the Mersey, and in an old, was it Prince's Half Tide dock? I think it used to be called. Anyhow, so this old dock having to be essentially rebuilt, and also the issues with the new boat, the Manxman, because it uses more in the way of side thrusters than the bayonet, which allows it to be much more manoeuvrable, but that scours the actual harbour walls. So they're having to be reinforced at Liverpool. And then you have all the rest of the construction and issues and problems. So what was initially spec'd as a 20 million job was then voted some more money. I think it was to take it to 38 million. And now, guess what? We need another 36 million. Now, it has the air of a project that's going to go to 100 million plus. And I think this is a question of Peel Holdings holding, pardon the pun, Isle of Man Steam Packet and the Manx people to ransom. And that, I think, is something that has to be well and truly stopped. But Whittaker, of course, has built up Peel Holdings from the Isle of Man, and the Isle of Man has allowed him to enjoy a very, very nice position, thank you very much, where he's been able to keep lots of his wealth, which he wouldn't have done otherwise, because it would have been taxed, of course, in UK. So he's enjoyed a lot of advantages from Manx residency, and he needs to start paying back the favours. I don't see, although there is a thought that, oh no, we're going to vote it through because we're too far ahead now, and we're in too deep, we're just going to have to press on and take the political flak. No, I don't think that's so at all. I think we're in a situation more like the British government was in the 1960s with TSR2, where they'd spent loads of money on it, but they simply didn't have the money to keep it going. The circumstances had changed, that various other people weren't buying the aeroplane, the costs had escalated completely, sort of insanely, and it was a question of, well, either Treasury gives us loads and loads of money, or we scrap it. And Dennis Healey said, Treasury isn't going to give me any more money, so we scrap it. And I think we just have to go back and start to play hardball and say, this idea that the Isle of Man is a completely soft touch when it comes to these kind of contracts, and you can just go, yeah, well, we said it was going to be 30 million, but it's going to be twice that, but hey, that's how it is. No, sorry. If Whittaker and Peel Holdings want us to be in Liverpool, then they need to pay everything on top of let's say the last settlement. Let's be generous to Peel Holdings and say, all right, we will pay 38 million, but not a bloody penny more. And they have to be told that, well, if you're not going to support that, well, get stuffed. And we're going to be very public about telling you to get stuffed. And we're going to go down to Garston, which is further up the river, which is Associated British Ports. And they came up with a proposal, if I remember rightly, a few years ago, for us to operate from there. But it was considered too far away from the centre of Liverpool, not glamorous enough. Well, the thing is, the glamorous bit, by the Prince's Tide dock, by Mr. Whittaker's lovely new shiny developments, apparently you can't use it for freight for most of the time. No, sorry, it's just not on. But we also now, of course, have allies in much better relations in the UK, so that if Whittaker decided to get shirty about our links from both Liverpool and Heysham in particular, of course, then I'm sure we could get Competition and Markets Authority to put a heap load of bricks on him.
Well,
and make sure that he actually starts to play fair. for the money we pay him, because Haitian, the maintenance of Haitian, it's a disgrace. But it's not dredged. The actual pier itself is falling to bits, because it's a 100-year-old pier, I think. It goes back to the days of the little Cunardas, which used to run from Haitian, and of course the marvellous kind of departure lounge and facilities.
So are we going to see,
as you can say, a shed, a tumble down shed?
Are we going to see any surprises then in the Tynwald chamber on this, or maybe you've sort of alluded to it already that there's a deal being done behind the scenes, because this does seem to be unreasonable. And fair play to John Whittaker, he's an Ireland resident, and you'd think he's going to perhaps lean the right way a little.
I don't know. That might be but happening behind the scenes, but I would have thought we would have had at least some vague indication that such a thing would be happening by now, which would then sort of encourage the vote.
Well, my forecast is...
Or a modified vote in Tynwald. But the idea that people who've been elected in the Keys can turn around to their constituents and say, oh, well, yeah, we're just in it too deep now, so it's another 30 million, and it's going to be, probably another 30 million. But, that's just the way it goes. That's completely politically unacceptable.
I wouldn't be surprised if Tim Krukol pulls a rabbit out of the hat and all.
As long as it's not a dead one.
A dead cat. There's plenty of those kicking around.
Dead myxodosis riddled bunny.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to put you on the spot, the green agenda. We could be getting 500 million quid out of a gas field. Why are we not going to do that, eh? Surely that is going to be so tempting. The 24.
No. There's lots of reasons why. There's lots of reasons why not, and not simply because of the green agenda. Yes, I would say, keep it in the ground. No, there's all sorts of reasons why you shouldn't dig it out. But really, the big one is money. There isn't as much gas, probably, as people say there is. The price of it at the moment is inflated because of Putin playing games. Mm-hmm. So the actual value of the gas, which people talk about, or which the people who want to develop it talk about, no, it's not as much as that. And also, the actual revenue to the Isle of Man would not be anywhere near what's being touted. As I think Alf Cannon was saying in the last Tynwald, I think there was a question on this, and it's saying that the revenue of the actual field, the output from the actual gas field, could be up to 40% to the Isle of Man government. Could be up to, like there could be up to 800 billion cubic feet of gas in this field. Likewise, there could be only 90 billion cubic feet of it, and so the actual then value, once you've done all the stuff in order to take it out, is very small. And also the vital thing is that the revenue, anything that sort of comes out of all right, we can charge them for the hole to dig out the gas.
Yeah.
But anything that then comes out of the pipe, that's all in the taxation regime of FIRSA, our revenue sharing agreement with the UK. And if we start to get a gas field, and then we start levying various taxes on it, UK government's going to say, no, that's mostly ours, actually. I mean, the first tax that you get out of something like a gas field, gas oil field, something called petroleum revenue tax, which is the actual tax on extracting it before you process it. But that at the moment is effectively zero, because the UK have been encouraging people to develop marginal fields like that one. So making sure that the company keeps all the revenue. So you don't get that. The idea that somehow we're going to have a marvellous VAT fiddle on this, because we're going to bring the gas, because they're planning to bring the gas ashore here again. Who remembers the unilateral renegotiation of VAT sharing? No, if the UK government see us making a good penny, then they'll make sure they get at least three-quarters of it.
Some of our MHKs drink petrol, don't they? They like their fast cars. They're, Clarkson-esque. They're going to be begging for this to be explored a little further and
of course,
switch on the gas taps.
And the company concerned has been doing a very clever bit of lobbying campaign, and
didn't they get an hour on the radio? Under the radar PR campaign, and they were doing that throughout the election, and they've been doing it ever since. But of course, it's very much countdown for them now, because their license to explore expires on December the 31st, and they've been trying to get an extension. Now they're not. Now, certainly, Tim Crookall said that Department of Infrastructure were not minded to give an extension. That was in the last month's Tynwald. But we don't know how far the lobbying has gone on that. Well, but you see, that's opposed to something like a wind farm, where offshore wind farm, the seabed leasing, because we own the seabed, right? We can charge for the seabed leasing for this ruddy great wind farm, and UK government can't touch a penny of it. It's all ours. And that would be something like, for the project that they are proposing, should I say, would be something like £1 billion over 10 years. We will see.
Guarantee.
We will see. I just liken Alf Cannon to a kind of James Bond character, and maybe this is going to be really sexy because he'll have the opportunity to get a license to drill.
Yeah.
You like that?
Right.
You like that, but I think we need Stu Peters on this. But I tell you what I've really enjoyed is the man in line. The man in line. I tune in from time to time. I know you do, and we're certainly getting a variety of opinions on that now, aren't we?
Variety. Well, yes.
Yeah, I like it.
Yes. From the from the rational to the completely irrational. There are all sorts of anti-vaxxers and other Fruit Loops on Man in Line, and then there are people like me who phone up with rational things about energy policy, and
at least there's a platform for some free speech.
Well, there's a platform, yes, but also I have a slight issue with Man in Line on this, in that it does try to make all opinions have equal value, which, no, I'm sorry. So the anti-vax sort of QAnon conspiracy, that doesn't have the same validity
to spice things up
as
a bit.
as actual sciencey stuff.
Do you think you should just spice it up by telling David Quirk to fuck off online? Would that just for a week?
Sometimes I am tempted. So, Dave, yes, you I can tell your heart's in the right place, but the problem is that, and this has been the problem a lot with Manx politicians over the years, you're parochial. You come from a background of being a commissioner. The idea of the big world off the coast, think, no, that's just too big to get your head round, isn't it? You're happy with bins and complaining about the road surfaces, or saying that
pavements.
Kids should be dragooned into your football club or various youth activities, to stop them hanging around and being troublesome.
You've got to be careful with that these days. But there you go. But I think maybe for Dave... Anyway, I think maybe David.
Yeah,
perhaps,
or letting them hang around. Yeah.
And
But,
others, and Howard just perhaps once or twice a week. I think maybe if Winty just kind of marshals that a little bit.
Oh, yes, Howard, Howard, and other people too. There's a woman who sounds just like I can't remember her name now, but she sounds just like Mrs. Merton.
Yes.
If you remember Mrs. Merton, yes,
Oh, do
she
I?
sounds like that. I'm not quite sure what her name is, but whatever she's thinking, I don't know. It sort of goes in one part of her head and then comes out into the microphone, and she hasn't really understood what it was that was going into the microphone in the first place. But that's the.
I know the feeling. I know the feeling, but fair play.
Again,
I think
it allows me to draw my pension. So
I think
I'll
at this
get my
time.
bus pass.
I think at this time it's worth, like commending the likes of Jeff and Sam, the output that he's creating online and the reports, and I think there are some associated web pages that are anonymous. I think that was it, Fear and Loathing. I read that now and again. And of course, those.
Yes. I'm not. I don't think Fear and Loathing is from the Geff stable.
Oh no, I don't know. What I'm saying is the likes of say.
From what I gather, it isn't.
And the videos, the clever videos, Takeover TV.
Takeover TV have of course been the new stars of sort of Manx political satire, especially over the election. But I think they're going to be doing something bigger in the very near future. So I think it's keep watching the skies.
I think it's a part of culture. What we've developed there, it's fantastic. It's an art form. Whatever the content is, it's an absolute art form. So fair play.
What do you remember the ones about Arnhem government about the Bell-Tier government that used an online animation package, which had the stock characters, and then used these computer-generated videos for the computer-generated animation for the stock characters, and you could put your own bits in it.
Oh no, I missed that completely.
It was brilliant. I'm trying to remember what it was called now, but it had the saga of Mr. Longworth and Tinker Bell, and how Tinker Bell wanted to save lots of money on the buses. That's why we're getting the bendy bus.
Oh,
yes.
The bendy bus.
It was hysterical.
They must have an office for doing things really shit. They must do, to come up with all these crap ideas and solutions and outcomes. And I think the likes of the Comyn members, the new people, you've got the likes of Laurie Hooper and Julie Edge, who've been shouting from the sidelines for so long. Surely they're going to try and shake the tree.
Yes and no. Because deftly, Alf Cannon has put Julie Edge somewhere where she has a bit of a problem causing trouble. Because she, of course, was part of the educational regime. Because I think she was finance head at Bala. Wasn't she? Not head of the finance. Yeah, it's not as if she taught it.
Certainly an understanding role.
It's what we used to call a bursar. Yes, the bursar of the school. But nowadays it's the head of finance and resort, whatever they want to call it. So yeah, she's she's had her sort of previous history and embedded there. So it's a bit difficult for her to go around picking fights.
True, but she'll know where the skeletons are, won't she?
Yes, but the
bodies are buried.
They'll know where she might have buried some as well.
Oh,
so
yes.
Cuts both ways on that. I mean, likewise with, well, no, not quite so much likewise with Laurie Hooper, but with Laurie Hooper, this has been commented that now his tone is very much company man of the Department of Health, rather than
Has to be.
Well, yes, but also, of course, it's very much the company man who's spokesman for Ramsey Cottage Hospital, which just happens to be in his constituency. So, very much the advocate of Ramsey Cottage Hospital and its minor injuries unit, which is all, which is great if you're up north and you've got a minor injury and you can't get down to Nobles.
Yeah, cut your finger off in Castletown.
Nobles A&E is overcrowded.
Yeah, slice your finger off in Castletown, and it will have grown back by the time you got to Ramsey.
Oh yeah. Put it in a frozen kipper bag and send it along so that you can pick it up when you're there. No, again, not quite thinking. But you have others. So, I'm hearing that. I mean, Claire Barber, surprisingly, is a deafer.
Yeah.
Which wouldn't have thought would be a place where she'd naturally fit, and she and her departmental members there, like Dr. Michelle Haywood and stuff, are really kind of starting to cut through.
They're good people, they're good people.
Yeah, and get a hold of it. And one of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing the output of is the Office of Fair Trading, because the Office of Fair Trading, its chairman is now
John Wannenberg.
Who is a man who, well, yes, has a very low patience threshold with idiocy and inactivity.
Oh, he'll have plenty to occupy himself.
So he'll have so yes, it's not so much he's going to be a breath of fresh air as more like a kicking arse machine. An OFT, and that's rather needed.
But if you look back over the years, this team that Alpha's got around him, and you've got Kate Lord Brennan in there as well, they're the toughest gang of shooters that we've seen ever, I'd say. It's got to be.
It's certainly by leaps and bounds the actually most able Comey that there's ever been. You have people who are postgraduates, people who are near sort of doctoral, near doctoral level, but you have departmental members nowadays who are people who are actually at doctoral qualification level, as opposed to a medical doctor. You have people who've got the smarts, professionally speaking, and seem to be developing the political smarts as well to actually get some members of the civil service by the lapels and say, "Shut up, stop bullshitting me," and get on with it and provide me with what I'm telling you to do. Otherwise, you'll be clearing your desk.
Well, this is it. Whereas for years and years we've had just sign here, Minister, and that's been about it.
What's that? Yeah, that's a place where you sign, Minister. No, here's the pen. If you guide it there, do you remember being in the reception class? Yes, right, okay. You just make the curly there. That's right.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
There we go. Bless him. So let me see, what else have we got that's been up in the headlines? 500,000 visitors by 2031 coming here on holiday.
Yeah, this is how to play with statistics. Yeah, I can prove anything with statistics. 500,000 visitors by 2030. Right. So that is what? 60,000 visitors a year? Okay, so how many people do you get for TT and the Festival of Motorcycling in a reasonable year?
42,000 for TT, isn't it?
Yeah. Then you put the Festival of Motorcycling on that. Oh yeah, so 60,000. Target achieved. Easy. So, yes, that's making something. I can't remember the specific term for it, but it is here's an impressive number, and I can really look impressive by saying it's going to be like by 2030. By 2030, of course, doesn't mean 500,000 visitors a year in 2030. It means 500,000 visitors between now and 2030.
The question that Mr. Morehouse is asking,
because 500,000 visitors a year, we simply wouldn't have the capacity to actually bring them back and forth.
I'm looking at question 14. I'm looking at question 14 from Mr. Morehouse, and I'll read it. It says 500,000 visitors each year, not between now and then.
500,000 visitors. We don't have the lift capacity for it. No, we simply can't transport that many people or accommodate them. That's if they're prepared to pay the prices, of course. And on the steam packet is eye-watering. And there's going to be the issue of how you fill that new boat, nice new expensive large capacity boat. It's going to look very empty with the kind of fare structures that they have now. Which brings me to question 5. Actually, by His Petrolness himself.
Yes,
Count Petrolhead. Which instead of being about fighting woke on the forecourt, and rounding up all the green shirts and making them sniff Castrol R40. This is actually about the prices on the steam packet, and why aren't we doing something about it? Because strangely enough, we own it.
Don't get your hopes up.
Good question, well presented.
Don't get your hopes up.
Well, not necessarily, because I heard Alex Townsend on Moaning Line last week, and this came out. Was it last week or the week before? No, I think it was last week. And this came up, and he was discussing, yes, that we're looking into how we can do this, because, of course, the remit that the steam packet has is to act as a commercial company, make money. It's not there as an agent of government policy. Now, it may be wholly owned by the government now, but it's not there to do these kind of social political things. But no, it's there to operate like a company and function like a commercial company. However, Tynwald can give it the powers to act somewhat less than a commercial company, and to be a bit more like something like Calmac in Scotland, because Calmac is very subsidised. Caledonian McIntyre operating between all the Highlands and Islands. You can operate it as a commercial company in a million years. It has to have loads of subsidy. And if you're talking about a lifeline service to service the needs of an economy and a population, then you're going to have to run it in that kind of quasi-private, quasi-public sort of way, rather than on very strict commercial lines. It just won't work. Here's one that somebody was telling me last week. A container. Your bog standard shipping container. You see them on the back of the bin. It costs more to ship that container from Heysham to Douglas on the Ben than it does to ship that very same fully loaded container from Mumbai to Liverpool.
And there you have it.
And there you have it, yes. Because, what is it? Heysham to here. 80 miles, is it? Something like that. 70, 80 miles. Mumbai to Liverpool, I think that's something nearer 4,000 miles. I mean, it's just it's absurd.
Is that because the economies of scale, though? They're on these huge
There are economies.
Stacked like
there
Tetris.
are economies of there are economies of scale and such. But the thing is also, you have to generate the scale to have economies. And we're going to have a bigger boat, but again, not full of containers, because it's too expensive for people to do. If we're going to diversify the economy and have things like creative industries, with their kit coming back and forth, service, television productions, film productions, and things like manufacturing, because even sort of small scale manufacturing, you're still having to get it on and off, bring the raw materials in, and then export it out again to the wider world, and that means you have to freight it, and that kind of light engineering would go in containers. But when you're talking about, I think they were saying to me, was it a laden container, something like 1,600, 1,700 quid.
We are going to be absorbing the costs, aren't we? So at some point, somebody said we're going to need a bigger boat, and are we staring into the jaws of defeat on this subject?
On having a bigger boat? No. Because there are situations where we need a larger boat. Yes, we have that problem of accommodating traffic, but the traffic itself is very seasonal. And even within that, it's very lumpy. Whereas if you structure fares properly, and if you structure them so that they discount properly at various times, then you can maintain the traffic and you can build the traffic. The only problem is, of course, you have to do that via subsidy, and that entails your company not really being run as a company, which is what, as a commercial, strictly commercial company, which is how the remit for the steam packet is now.
And they're just going to say it will be kept at arm's length. That is the mantra.
Well, the day-to-day operations can be kept at arm's length. Yes, of course. You don't want members of Combing going one day, oh, why haven't you cut the fares for next week? Well, because we have a department that work these things out. They say, oh no, you should cut the fares for next week. Yeah, but we have a commercial department that works out how much we can make and how we can charge things. No, but the strategic objectives of the steam packet, like being able to afford to provide affordable regular transport for business and people, that's something that government can determine. And then go, okay, right, you structure the fares like this, and we give you, subsidy and various funds for that, and you then keep on generally kind of running it like a company, but commercial company, but you run it with these things in mind that we're then sort of giving you the money for and helping you out with.
Well, speaking as someone who has skin in the game, and I deal with visitors coming to the island as part of my little tour operation, generally a foot passenger fare doesn't exceed £50 return, which for me is fine all day long, and I don't see this being an issue. I think the issue is with bringing people to the island as visitors is our poor offering when they get here. The pubs are rubbish, the beer is overpriced, there's a lack of decent hotel rooms, and there ain't much to do for people who want to spend money and have fun.
Well, certainly on some of the foot fares, I think there have been some issues with Liverpool and the Fastcraft. I've certainly heard, I haven't heard anyone recently go, oh, it's only 50 quid to me. So I think those are issues. Yeah. There's also the issue of again, the quality of the offering, because the Ben, good old reliable ship, but it's a freight ship, essentially, with seats in it.
Yep.
It's not an actual passenger experience ship, such as the ones that go from Liverpool to Ireland.
It's not a boat you can love, is it? It's not a boat you can love.
No, not really. Whereas the Manxman is designed from the ground up to be that kind of boat. A smaller, a slightly smaller, compact and bijou version, but nonetheless still sort of specced out and pimped out in the same way as those large ferries that are going over from Liverpool to Ireland.
Well, it'll be servicing Liverpool, and it'll be shipping back all those tearful Everton fans who'll be able to just spill out of the ground and fall straight onto the boat as they commiserate with each other at another woeful performance, because the Everton ground is just going to be alongside, isn't it, or not too far away?
Yes, that's right. Yes, it's that's part of the redevelopment. If they still have the owners, of course, because I think they're owned by a company that has some presence in the Isle of Man. Actually, I think it's somewhere in Victoria Street.
Oh, really? Oh, we'll have a look at that. We'll have a look at that.
They were in the Panama Papers.
Oh, we'll talk about that off air. So tell me, just to wind up, because we are hitting 50 minutes of chat now. What's your forecast for next year? What are we going to see that's going to pop out of government? Are we going to see Manx Care sort of crash? Are we going to see it crash, or is it going to be a beacon of success? What's going on?
Can you predict next month? Okay, well, you got the budget in February, but the budget is, for the most part, was already set before the election. The incoming government has still got to put together even the framework of a plan for Island Plan programme for government. So you won't really see that much action. However, you're already seeing a little more awareness of the kind of social pressures that we have. Because if you see in the order papers for Tynwald, there is a supplementary order paper. And that supplementary order paper is to make regulations to permit various schemes. One of which is a holiday hunger food voucher scheme for those receiving free school meals, and the other scheme allows an additional winter bonus for those people who are on benefits for a period. They do receive a winter bonus to help with fuel costs. We're not talking about a Christmas bonus here. We're talking about
a big amount of people.
An additional sum. But they are going to now put another additional sum in that, and that's the other bit of regulation, so as to assist people with the rise in, particularly in gas prices, because we've not only had this rise in gas prices, but I believe Manx Gas have applied to be able to rise prices again. But that shows a lot more idea of social of concern for what ordinary people are going through than you ever had.
But if you
in the last administration. And indeed, I think the various support schemes for hospitality and stuff are being activated as well.
But if you add the amount of persons who are on free school meals, those that require assistance that are elderly, we're talking about thousands, aren't we? Thousands of people. Add the Manx Gas victims, if you like. You're talking 15,000 people, aren't you? Must be.
Oh, yes. The calculation, if you look at the explanatory memorandum for these things, which is contained. If you look at the order paper, there's a little link. Besides the government paper bit, there's memo, and that's the sort of summary of what things do and how much they cost. The cost for the increased bonuses, I think it's something like $1 million. The costs of the food vouchers, for holiday hunger, that's being met out of the out of the jar of 10p's, the contingency fund.
Let's have a chat again, and we'll come back with some figures, Bonzo. I think we'll have to wrap it up for tonight. So if you could just see us out with the man himself, Mr. John Peel, saying goodbye until we talk again.
Well, Christmas comes but once a year, and I'm reminded by our current situation by King George VI, who I was a very great fan of, and his speech in 1939, man stood at the gate of the year. And I think if you think about the things which may be happening in the near future, but also the possibilities that I think we have in the near future, and for 2022, yes, it is a darkness, but trust in what can happen, and that will light your way. So, good night and good luck.
And trust in Putin, otherwise we're all screwed. Okay. Good night.